Stephen?
Yes, we have a few questions. First one, asking for a comment here in terms of inflation. The former governor of the Central Bank of England, Mervyn King, has been quoted today or yesterday. Interesting that he was one of the people executing quantitative easing, but he's saying that inflation is not just all about the war and some of those factors. He contends that central banks went far too far with quantitative easing, and this is now working its way into the inflation calculation. Would you comment on that one?
Okay, great. Uh, two things, and this connects with Pepe's question on the stagflation. It is true, as I said, that the spike in inflation in both sides of the Atlantic, Europe and including the UK, of course, and US, are not only due to supply chain constraints. You have had a very much excited global demand. Pepe mentioned the level. I could have included a chart on the level of employment and the lack of space for hiring. You know, the job creation has been very much beyond the available labor force. So there several indicators point out to a degree of overheating, and what Mr. King has in mind definitely has to do with the excesses, for good reasons, because of fears of the pandemic and so on. But the fact of the matter is now the time to close the faucet, and this is going to happen. Now the quantitative easing will now be replaced by a quantitative tightening, which may vary. The quantitative tightening will be either more aggressive or simply passive, in the following sense. It suffices for the central banks not to replenish in their portfolios the assets that come due, and that would naturally decrease the size of the balance sheet of the central banks, affecting particularly the longer interest rates. The quantitative easing and the quantitative tightening have more to do with the yield curve than the levels of current liquidity. And the answering, taking the chance, Pepe, we say stagflation. Well, the inflation component of that is obvious. It's going to, come down probably very slowly. But this stagnation, it can be understood beyond simply having 2 quarters with negative GDP, as the people say, the analysts, the technical definition of recession. It suffices to characterize as stagnation if the growth rates come close to zero, if they come down to low level. So it may be a shallow one. The U.S. may undergo a shallow recession that still keeps the designation of stagnation at the same time that we have inflation. So, and the voice of former Governor Mervyn King is also being issued by Ben Bernanke and other former Fed governors, as well as some major economists. So Mervyn King is right. You have more, and then I will, at the very end, I will take up issues.